This is a video tutorial for question 4, and today I will demonstrate two vulnerability management tools, and the first one will be Intruder. This is the dashboard of Intruder, and to start a scan, click to scan and to choose my target. I have an example here is the vulnerable web. Add a name and descriptions. That's this to be tutorial scan. If you want further personalizations, you can choose advanced settings like auto scan speed or default web ports. Click and start. Is now in progress and it may take a while for the intruder to scan every vulnerability inside a website. So I will come back to you when it's finished. Okay, now that the scan is complete, and go into tutorial scan. You can see it takes about 1 hour and 8 minutes to scan the vulnerability inside the website. And for the detailed descriptions, you can go to report, select the scan and download the PDF. I have already downloaded one so that you can view it right away. As you can see, the threat levels is critical with 1 critical issues, 3 high issues, 2 medium, and 3 low. And next, we'll have the summary of the vulnerability. It details like SQL injections, unsupported PHP versions, vulnerability, PHP versions, and number of equal currents. Scrolling down, you can see what the vulnerability is and how can it be attacked onto users, and along with the remediation advice to protect against the weakness. And finally, you can have the occurrence time of each time the vulnerability attack occurs. And that is the basic features of an intruder with vulnerability management. Now we'll move on to the second vulnerability management tools, which is OWASP ZAP. To perform a scan, you click into automated scan. To choose the URL, and I have an example here is test.php vulnerableWeb.com and tap to begin. And it might take about 1 hour for the scan to complete the vulnerability inside the website. So I will skip the time for the scan and to focus more on the results. Okay, now the scan is finished. As you can see, there are 19 alerts of the current issues. And to view the full descriptions of the every vulnerability, you can go to report, click generate report, and you will have the scanning report of ZAP, including a summary of how many alerts. There are 19 one with 4 high, 11 mediums, and 4 low. Scrolling down, you will have the total of vulnerability. There are 6 currently, which ranging from the cross-site scripting, cross-site SQL injections, and information leak. And clicking to every vulnerability, you will receive the source about the active scanners, CWEID, WASCID, and some reference of the vulnerability. Okay, for the first vulnerability, we'll have cross-site scripting. Okay, so basically, cross-site scripting is an attack technique that involves encoding attacker supplying code into a user browser instance. When an attacker gets a user browser to execute the code will run within the security context and gain a level of privilege. The code will have the ability to read, modify, and transmit data and sensitive data accessible by the browser. The user can have the account hijacked, their browser react to another locations, and possibly shown fraudulent content delivered by the website they are visiting. In addition, the report also include the solutions to the vulnerability. The first one is to use an embedded library or framework that does not allow the weakness to occur. Examples are the Microsoft anti-site scripting library, the OWASP SVC, and the Apache Wicket. And secondly, for any data that would be output to another web page, especially any data that received from external input, use an appropriate encoding to all non-alphanumeric character. And then for any web page that is generated, use and specify an character encoding such as ISO and UTF-8. When an encoding is not satisfied, the web browser may choose a different encoding by guessing which encoding is actually being used by a web page. This can cause the web browser to treat a certain sequence as special, open up the client to subtle cross-site scripting attacks. And finally, When performing an input validations, consider all the potentially relevant prompt including length, type input, and full range of acceptable value. Missing or extra input, syntax, or consistency across related fields, and conformation to business rule. Okay, now we can move on to the another vulnerability. You can have SQL injections. The risk of SQL injections is high. The summary is SQL injection might be possible. It might interfere with the queries that an application makes it to the database. So the attacker can gain the full access to any sensitive data within the browser. And for victims, their account might be hijacked, reading directly to a different browser locations and being exposed to a fraudulent content. And the remediation advice is to do not trust client-side input, even if there is a client-side validation in place. In general, check all data on the server side. In addition, do not create dynamic SQL query during a simple string concatenations. Escape all the data received from the client, find allow list of the allowed characters or a deny list of disallowed character in the user input. And finally is to apply the list privilege by using the list privilege database user possible. Okay, now can move on to the third vulnerability. The final vulnerability I will discuss today will be the content security policy. In summary, content security policy is an added layer for security that helps to detect and mitigate certain types of attack, including cross-site scripting and data injection attack. These attacks are used for everything from data theft to site defacement or distributions of malware. And the solutions is to ensure that the web server or application server load balancer is configured to set the content security header. To achieve the optimal browser support, you can have like some support from the Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Firefox 4.0, and Internet Explorer. Okay, so that is the end of demonstrations of OWASP ZAP. Now that I have demonstrated both of the vulnerability management tools, in general, the report of both Intruder and OWASP share similar features, from the threat measures to the summary of vulnerability. Although Intruder detected more numbers of vulnerability, 9 compared to 6, OWASP have a more detailed reference of what the vulnerability is from the source, CRV ID, WASC ID, and reference for the solutions. In conclusions, it is highly recommended that you can combine both the tools to get the most comprehensive vulnerability reports. And that is the end of my tutorial video for question 4. Thank you for listening.